Hey fellow tennis nerds, I wanted to revisit some recent releases. There's been a lot of rackets coming out in these past months and weeks, and some pretty big lines and pretty big updates, and you have most of them on the shelf there. So been a busy period for me and other play testers and tennis nerds and people who like to check out new rackets and also check out the reviews and see if they might be anything for them. And there have been pretty good releases overall, like quite interesting updates, and been very happy with most of them. Not all of them are for me, obviously. It's a very personal taste thing, tennis rackets, but I thought we'd just talk through them briefly and what they updated. So let's start with the Clash version 2, the new version of the Clash. They have made it slightly stiffer, so it's a bit more powerful. Also introduced technology called 45, which is supposed to increase the flex even, and it's supposed to give a slightly better feel in the string bed. And this racket is all about flex, even though they've stiffened it up a bit, which I think was a good thing. It was one of the things I pointed out in my initial review of the Clash Original Edition. So they stiffened them up. They've gone from like 54, 55 strung to now up to 60 strung for certain models. And they've also added an extra cross string for two of the models, the Clash 100 Pro and the Clash 98. So the more advanced Clash rackets now have 1620 instead of 1619, giving you a little bit more precision on flat shots. So I thought these changes were all good. One thing that I've noticed is that the sweet spot is also bigger. So they've actually re-engineered it slightly in the layup, meaning what's inside the racket. The issue I have is that it's a bit too muted now, probably a little bit more muted than it was in the past. So that would be the downside. It can be hard to feel the ball at times. That's at least my perception. And I really value a connection to the ball, which for some it doesn't really matter that much. And the whole big benefit of the Clash is obviously the comfort, so that's still there. You don't have to worry about any arm issues technically with these rackets. They also have a little bit of a trampoline effect, like meaning that the ball really has a long pocketing and dwell time, and that's the whole thing with the 45. So you really feel the racket pocket the ball, but then sometimes shoot it out, and you don't really know and can gauge the depth and trajectory of the ball. So that would be the downside. But there are many plus sides to the new Clash, and I completely understand all the things they try to do here. I would have loved to see a Clash that it's a bit of a thinner beam, but maybe that's not really a Clash then, that's something else. But it would have been interesting to see them maybe tweak it a little bit more. Overall, very good rackets if you're looking for arm friendliness, some good power and spin, and you're a player who like to hit with some margins. I think that then the Clash line is something you should look into. Besides the Clash, which was the most recent release, we've also had the Speed that should be out now for purchase, the new Speed line from Head. They have introduced auxetic technology, which is also supposed to increase the feeling and the kind of connection to the ball. I talk about that a lot because it's so important in a racket that you feel that you know what's going on in the string, but you know where you hit the ball, you know where the ball is going to go, hopefully. So those things are very important. And I think this was actually a very minor update. There are no real spec changes to this lineup of rackets. But the update they did with the auxetic is that the feel is a bit better. I didn't feel 100% connected to the previous edition. Sometimes the sweet spot felt a bit smaller than it should. Here I feel a nicer sensation when I hit the ball, and I have a bit more confidence in my shots. So this new Speed line is probably my favorite of all time Speeds. Really good Speed line. I do like the old Speed MP 315 gram that became the Gravity Pro. That's one of my big favorites, but that was a long time ago. And they have some good speeds in the past as well, but this line is very, very good, and excellent line of rackets. The rackets I received have a bit of a higher swing weight. For me, that's fine, but the listed specs from Tennis Warehouse look lower, so I think it will appeal to more players. So Speeds are a very, very minor update, but it's a significant one in the feel department. So if that's important to you, and there was something that really didn't gel for you with the old Speeds, go and check these out because they're very good rackets. Another predominantly white racket is the new Tecnifibre TF40. I've talked about it quite a bit because it's been in other videos, meaning that I've been playing with it quite a lot, and I really like the new TF40, especially the 305 gram version. I feel like they've made the sweet spot a bit bigger, made it a little bit easier to use, almost a little bit softer in my opinion, the foam inside. might be the thing that helped that. Yeah, just an overall nicer experience. I actually think this is an improvement over the previous TF40. But the new TF40, excellent. Really enjoying both the 16-19 305 and the 18-20 305. The 18-20 has a little bit higher swing weight, so it's a bit more demanding, but better plow through. Really good action on the ball there, really plowing through the ball. While the 315 gram versions, both the 18-20 and the 16-19, counterintuitively have a little bit less stability. So they have a higher static weight, but a lower swing weight. And I don't really like that, because I feel like I then need to add weight to the head to increase the swing weight, and suddenly the racket is starting to creep up towards a much higher static weight. So for me, the 305s, very nice balance, very good feel, and just an excellent frame for control players. It's not an easy racket to use, but if you like to play with a bit more of a demanding stick, you want to have control and feel, the TF40 is a very good competitor to rackets like the Wilson Blade or even the Prestige from Head. So thumbs up for the new TF40s. We have also seen Yonex release the new Ezone. It's the 7th generation. They have released a bunch of rackets, 98, 98 light, 100, 100 light, ultra light, and even 104 and 110, I think, 105 and 110 square inch versions. So a lot of different Ezones. The 98 is most players' favorite, because it does have a pretty easy swing to it. It's low swing weight, like 318 listed on Tennis Warehouse. I checked mine, it's the same. So very low swing weight, pretty maneuverable racket, still good stability, good power for a 98. So the Ezone 98 is such an easy racket to use, and we're seeing many players on both club and pro level using this frame. Different generations, of course, but it's always been that kind of very easy racket to use. And in the new edition here, I feel like I get more control with this racket than I did with the previous edition. They re-engineered the feel a bit, and I feel like it's a much better racket for confidence and for actually going for your shots. So I prefer this quite a bit towards compared to the previous generation, actually. Spec-wise, these things might look the same, but when it comes to actually playing with the racket, you will notice a difference. And I like both the 98 and the 100. And the 100 had a similar swing weight, but a lot more power with the larger head, thicker beam. It's quite a powerful racket. The 100, fun to use, and if you want help with power, the Ezone 100 is a great choice. It's quite arm friendly, I noticed as well. Might not be for you who have tennis elbow, because the stiffness is still in the like high 60s strong, but it's very well dampened and a nice frame to use. The best Ezone 100 for sure that I've ever played with, and I played with all the Ezones, so very good update to the Ezone. Last but not least, the Boom line. The Boom MP and the Boom Pro are both out. The MP being a bit lighter, easier to use, 100 square inch racket, pretty comfortable frame, low stiffness. Didn't really do the name justice. The power is not massive, but it's a very, very good racket for players who want a bit more comfort, better feel, but still some power and spin. So the Boom is an interesting frame, both the Pro and the MP, with the morph beam, which is kind of similar to an isometric, but not quite. More of a gravity style where they added some power. So if it's like the gravity and the extreme had a baby kind of, and then they had the Boom. And the Boom is an interesting frame. I like the Boom Pro, I like the MP. Sometimes I can get a bit lost in the string bed. I feel like the ball might sail on me. That's me personally. Not feeling 100% confident at all times, but it's a very easy to use racket, both the Pro for advanced players and the MP for intermediate players. So I really think they did something good with the Boom line, and it was a bit better than I expected. I thought a Boom would be like an Instinct with maybe even more power, maybe thicker beam, but this is actually two rackets that are actually well suited to advanced players. You don't even need to customize in many cases the Boom Pro. And then we have the Boom MP, which is less powerful than the Instinct MP, for example, or an Extreme MP. So it's a little bit better feel, a little bit lighter, a little bit more headlight. That's what I think. But it's generally an easy racket to use, the MP, and the Pro is suited to many advanced players. And I have a few friends that are better players than me that have made the switch to the Boom Pro. So good rackets from Head. So there's so many good rackets now that were released in the last few weeks. And yeah, it's a tough choice of what you prefer, and I'm keen to hear which silo, which category would you go for which line of rackets would you be most interested in? Do you have any brand preferences? Put them in the comments below. I can do a separate video talking about your questions there for the different new rackets that have come out, and they're all good. I really must say that I was not let down really by any specific update. For me, I think the TF40 is the one that's closest to my heart and the one I play my best tennis with. But for most players, I think the Ezone line will be very easy to use, or the speed. I think the speed in the Ezone will appeal to the widest audience. And the Clash is also very good for players thinking about arm comfort and looking into that, maybe having some history of arm issues. I think the Clash could be a very interesting choice. Check them out through my affiliates, Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, and Tennis Only. I get a small commission if you use my links in the description. So big thanks, it really helps. Also check out my buddies at Play Your Court. If you use my link that's also in the description, you get 50% off a membership, and the membership gives you access to finding other players, coaches in your area. This is US for now, and could be a really good tool in developing your tennis circle and your tennis game. So also, if you want more content, go to my Patreon, patreon.com/tennisnerd, where I upload unique stuff every week. That's it. Have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.